Today we're going to talk about clearing out a loved one's home, a clear and simple approach. I want to talk today about a step-by-step guide for you as the personal representative of an estate to going through the process of clearing out your loved one's personal items from the home. This is a huge step for helping you and the rest of the family move forward with letting go of the personal property that your loved one has bestowed to you. First, let's talk about ensuring that you include the beneficiaries in the process if they're willing and able, and if you can all agree and be civil through the process of sorting through personal items. Know that keeping the beneficiaries involved is going to diminish the chances of there being any disputes or arguments about personal belongings, and it will also help keep you all on the same page when it comes to how you're going to go about handling things. This process can take time, effort, and sometimes money. A lot of times people believe that you can sell everything and make a lot of money, and unfortunately, it's just hasn't been the case from what we've seen. Some items are saleable, but for the most part, most estates, the personal items don't have a lot of value. First, you're going to want to ask these 3 questions before determining what to do with an item. Does it bring you joy? Does it hold memories? And is it useful for your life today? Why are we asking these 3 questions? Well, if something brings you joy or comfort, it might be an item that you want to hold on to. If it has a lot of personal memories, it might also be something that someone wants to hold on to. And if it's useful, it's going to have value for you or one of the other beneficiaries. If you might feel like this item doesn't have a lot of use, or maybe it takes up a lot of space, but it holds a lot of memories, it might be a good idea that you all take a picture with it and let the item go. Or it may be an idea that you take an item and it gets to move from house to house. A family member, my grandmother, years ago when she passed away, there was an item that someone had purchased for my grandmother, and it was in her home. And my parents and my aunt and uncle both wanted the item, and so they decided that they would transfer the item back and forth every year, and so it gets boxed up and shipped, and then it gets put onto a shelf as a display item for both families. And they were able to negotiate that between the 2 of them as sort of a loving way and a loving gesture for everyone to have the opportunity to have that item. Another option might be repurposing something that holds a memory or joy for you. For example, let's say you have a t-shirt. When my husband's grandfather passed, everybody didn't know what to do with all of his clothing items, but he often wore flannels. And so one of the aunts actually took a bunch of his flannel shirts and made teddy bears for all of the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. My children have a teddy bear from their great-grandfather that they're going to have forever. And it's just a small keepsake, but it holds value for them as a personal item. Let's move on to photos. And what are you going to do with all of these photos that you have? If you can find someone in the family who has some technical skills and can digitize them for you, that's always a great option. A lot of times what families will do is they will have someone designated after someone passes to build a slideshow for during the services for that loved one. If the person who built the slideshow is skilled at scanning and digitizing photos, they can build a folder and share that with everyone, and then all the family members have a digital copy of family photos. It can be challenging to go through this process, so it might be a good idea to sort of pick and choose which photos you're going to scan. If you have 10 photos from, I don't know, someone's 50th birthday party, and several of them you don't have a lot of faces in them, or they don't seem like they hold a lot of personal meaning, it might be a good idea to just let those ones be and pick the photos that actually are meaningful to the family to scan and keep. This is a way to preserve memories, but also maintain space for people, right? We're not holding on to the physical copy of the photos because they take up a lot of space. And sometimes that isn't an option. It also gives the opportunity to share with everyone. When you only have a physical copy of a photo, it just lives in one person's house and everybody doesn't have the opportunity to see them. Let's talk about selling items. I know earlier I mentioned that a lot of times things don't have resale value. But in some cases, an estate may be able to have a company come in and do an estate sale. If a company comes in to do an estate sale, you want to ensure that they have good guidelines for how they go about doing an estate sale. We actually have a video on that, so that you can vet the estate sales companies and determine whether or not they're going to be a good pick for you. One of the things to keep in mind when selling personal items is that it is a lot harder process than we tend to think about. If you're taking pictures, posting, and trying to communicate with people who want to buy individual items online, it really is going to take a significant amount of your time up. And it might take you a lot longer than you think to get all these items sold. And likely you're going to sell them for a lot less than what you originally thought they were worth. If an estate sale really isn't the best option, once the beneficiaries have taken items that they would like to have from the estate, then it might be a good idea to find a buyout company. What is a buyout company, you ask? Well, a buyout company is someone who comes in and they offer you a set price for all of the items in the home. Buyout companies are great because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll say, okay, I can maybe make this much money off of these items, I can offer them this amount, but also on top of that, they will take trash. So sometimes they might counteract the amount that they're going to give you with the amount that it would cost them to dispose of trash items in the home. But the great thing for you as the personal representative, even if it costs you money to let go of all the items in the home, it may also save you money because you won't have to clear it out. It'll be completely empty, there won't be anything left, and you'll be able to just begin the preparation process for selling the home. And with that, knowing that the home is the largest asset for the estate and oftentimes is going to bring in the largest profit for the beneficiaries. Prior to holding an estate sale or having a buyout company in and empty the home, you may decide that there are items that your loved one would have wanted to have donated specifically to certain charities. Or it might be in the will that they want something donated to a specific charity. We had a client not too long ago whose father wanted all of his clothing donated to a local shelter so that it could go to families who were in need of clothing items. Sometimes there's a lot of suits or professional wear in the clothing, and that can also be donated to shelters who are helping people to find jobs. It's a great opportunity to take items that your loved one cared about and that were useful to them and give them to somebody who is also going to find them useful. So what do you do when you get stuck in the process of letting go of items? Let's say you find something, you don't feel like you want to take a picture of it, but you don't want to let go of it, and it doesn't really hold a lot of usefulness in your daily life, but you just really are not ready to let go of it. One of the ways you can deal with that is you can have a legacy box. So each individual person might want to bring in one box and take items that are of meaning to them that they're not really sure whether they want to keep or let go of, right? The great thing about a legacy box is that you'll have the opportunity to put those items in the box, put the box away, and if you think of that item and you want to have it, you can. And if you decide a year from now you don't want to have the item anymore, or it hasn't brought you any joy, or it doesn't provide any memories, or isn't useful, as we had talked about earlier, then you can let it go. If the item hasn't been useful to you in a year and you're probably not going to use it again next year, it might not be something worth keeping. But you get to make that decision and decide what items are worth keeping and what items are worth letting go of. The great thing about the legacy box is you get to decide what items are worth keeping. Just some final thoughts. Remember that you're not just decluttering, you're making space for what matters to you and the other beneficiaries. Be kind to yourself and know that even one box a day is progress. You will have to maintain some timelines to get through the probate process, but taking steps every day to try and move forward through the decluttering process is going to help you and the estate get to where you want to be. If you found this video of value, please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell button. We hope that every small step for you brings you clarity and peace through the process of going through your loved one's items. We'll see you next week.